I've been working on my open world exploration game The Lost Explorer for more than a year now, and now that the release date is getting closer and closer, it's high time to finish the game. There are quite a few things I still want to add and improve. First of all, I want to add a few more spaceship wreckage sites. So I started by making and then importing all my new wreckage models, 5 in total. Then I made the 2 shuttle wreckage sites. Previously there was already 1 shuttle, but it's only logical that there are more than 1 escape shuttles. After making so many wreckage sites, I've developed a pretty good and fast workflow. The material automatically adds moss, then I scatter foliage and a bunch of vines on the mesh. And as a final touch, I try to always add at least 1 spot where birds can land on the wreckage, as this can make for really cool looking photos. I added some more stuff, but I'm not going to show it all so I don't spoil too much. I did want to make the wreckage a bit different, but didn't have time to make a bunch of new assets or anything. So I thought, why not make a partially sunken wreckage? And that's what I did. As you can see, this jet engine is partially underwater, partially above. And I think the combination looks pretty cool. That's done, but I also really want a way to tie the quests together with the rest of the game. And I have the perfect idea for how to do this. So since the very beginning, back when I made this astronaut character, they've had this little screen. And up until now, I've simply used some material code to make it a glitched error screen. But I'm finally going to tie it into the gameplay. I made a new animation and added the suit computer to the inventory. Awesome, now you can look at a broken screen. No, of course the objective will be to repair this computer, so I'll get started on that. I made this little computer chip, then I made a new quest where the leader of the aliens gives this computer chip to you if you complete all the other quests. A bunch of other more boring stuff later and you can repair the suit computer. Nice. But what to do with it, and how does this tie into the rest of the game? Well, a while ago I got a really cool idea for a hologram effect that's also really cheap to calculate for the PC, and this is the perfect excuse to make it. Before I get started on that, go wishlist The Lost Explorer. It's a chill exploration game, it would mean a lot, but please don't feel obligated in any way. The idea is that when you've repaired the computer, you can see a simulation of how the crash happened, but only on the wreckage that you've discovered, of course. So the first thing I got started on was the hologram. I'm going to make the hologram meshes only render to the custom depth, so as you can see they are completely invisible by default. Now I can still get the depth information in a post-process material. This is of course a bit limiting, but it also allows for a really cool combination of world space and screen space effects. I'll start with the basics, creating some outlines by comparing neighboring pixels. I'll also darken the background a bit just for visual clarity. Now we can see the wreckage much more clearly, but this really isn't all that special. So now it's time for the screen space effects. I'll start by adding screen tearing. As you can see, this creates this cool effect where the mesh is actually 3D and has a place in the world, but at the same time has these 2D effects like it's a screen or projection. I was thinking about what else I could add without going overboard, and I decided on screen space lag. Let me explain. Have you ever seen these augmented reality Google things on your phone? Well, if you've got a below average phone like me, there's definitely a bit of lag in the tracking, causing the 3D mesh to kinda lag behind the real world. And since I want this to look like a projection, I think this would fit perfectly. I pass the camera movement information along to the post-process material and we get... that doesn't seem right. So it took me an embarrassingly long time to fix this, but in the end I got it done, and this is what it looks like. Great, then I added some more detail to the background darkening effect and I'm finished. Except this thing isn't being occluded at all, so it even renders behind the trees or under the ground. This was a pretty quick fix, just don't render it if the normal depth is less than the hologram depth, and this is what I kept for a while. The problem comes when you add the vines and foliage. As you can see, all these small plants occluding the hologram and creating outlines causes a lot of visual clutter. I spent about 4 hours trying a bunch of different approaches to make everything occlude the holograms except the foliage, and in the end I got something that isn't perfect, but I definitely think it looks a lot better. Okay, so I finally got a good looking hologram effect but no animations. Normally I make my animations in Blender, but since these are entire meshes flying through the world, I'll animate this using a level sequence instead. I also made a particle effect for the impact of the crashes. I tried using actual debris meshes for the particles, but instead I ended up going for simple triangles, since this is better for visual clarity and because it fits the hologram style. Animating this definitely wasn't easy, because, well, for one, I generally suck at animating, but second, I had to work in reverse. I had to start from the place the wreckage lands and find a way to animate a kinda natural looking crash. I watched some simulations online of plane crashes to try and get an idea of how these big structures behave when hitting the ground at such high speeds. This definitely helped, but it still took me about 3 days to get all of these things animated one by one. Some of them of course took longer than others, like this navigation room that has a bunch of small parts scattered on the ground. I had no idea when I first made this crash site how much extra work these small parts would be. Finally, I combined all of this and we get... Don't worry, I'm not showing the entire crash. So before these editions, I also participated in Next Fest. If you don't know what that is, it's an event where indie developers show off their games and have free demos for people to try out an entire week long. I of course fixed a bunch of bugs and made quite a few quality of life improvements. This was all to be expected until I got a message from someone saying the game didn't work on the Steam Deck. To be honest, I didn't think it would, since I never put any time into supporting the Steam Deck and don't even have one myself. But I did some research and in the end got it working, though it had awful performance and weird controls. So now, knowing it was possible, I borrowed a Steam Deck and spent 3 days reworking the controls, improving performance and adding a Steam Deck graphics preset. So now the game supports Steam Deck. I'm still trying to get it verified by Steam, but hopefully I'll be able to do that before the game releases. And I have to say that it was just so cool being able to play my game on the Steam Deck. It was kinda like the first time I saw my game on Steam. And that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, you can join the Discord, and wishes to Lost Explorer. Bye.